life. We appreciate you being here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time as we are inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. And thank you for being with us here on Facebook.com, YouTube.com, and MixLR.com, all / Wake Up Call DT. So however you're connected with the show, we appreciate you for being here up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around this beautiful globe of ours. And inside of today's show, we're going to have some fun with Murph again, 4 weeks in a row. We said we were going to maybe do this thing every other week, but I don't know. Me and Murph, we get along. I seem to like the guy. You know, we've been friends for a while. We've done a lot of work together. We met through MU courtside. So, see, what had happened was he found his way to my heart in the beginning because he connected me back to MU courtside, which, you know, is something that I started, and it's meant for students. And I was able to come back and do some special guest appearances that I never thought would be possible after I graduated. So I think that's what Murph did. He knows where my heart lies. So then he reached to me through that. And now all these years later, he's working as a member of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media's team. And here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I got the contract signed. And unlike Aaron Rodgers, I keep those signed contracts. So we'll talk about that just a little bit. He's off screen right now making faces you can't see, but I can, and it makes me enjoy it. There's a little screen while I'm doing all of this. It's like my in the queue screen, so I can watch this background, which is fun. It's kind of like on a late night talk show when you see what they're doing in the green room, and they don't know that you know that they know. So they don't know that I know that. Whatever it is. So DT and Murphy here this morning. Major League Baseball. It's Monday. So that I don't know that you know that I know. There it is. That's the way I wanted to say it. DT and Murphy, Major League Baseball, the NFL draft coming up this week. Can you believe it? It's like part of Christmas for people like me because I will watch every day and I will watch every round. And if you want to sit with me and you want to have snacks, we can. There's 2 rules if you want to come and watch the draft with me. Let's have some good snacks. Do not ask me how long we're watching the draft. That's inappropriate. We're going to watch it till it's done. That's how we do it here. And then at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time this morning, Matt Bergeron is going to be joining the show. Syracuse Orange offensive tackle alum and a big name in this year's NFL draft. He'll be joining me to talk about the draft, the preparation, maybe some teams that he's been talking with. A lot of good things coming up with Matt Bergeron live, picture in picture. But before we go there, we're going to DT and Murphy. Starting off draft week with a lot of draft talk, Aaron Rodgers talk as well, and we'll get into Major League Baseball. Murph, how we doing?
You feel like, you say that I don't know that you're still watching. Yeah, I definitely do know that you're still watching. And yes, I'm making faces because of the stuff you're spewing about Aaron Rodgers, and I'm doing well. It's one of those things. It's morning after a crappy round of golf, so my head's not all there golf wise, but it is football and baseball wise. That's for sure.
This is how I feel about it. Okay, this is my glass half full that I'm going to throw at you. A crappy day of golf is still a day of golf. So
fair.
You know what I mean? You get to play the game that you love, and a lot of people love it. Some people can't play it anymore, and some people, maybe have gotten away from it. So you got to enjoy the time that you got out there. I told you because we're looking at doing a fun thing. My friends and I were looking at doing something here, and those I consider very close to me. And I'm talking to Murph about, let's go somewhere, let's get away from things, and let's do this and that. And Murph's response, I was like, give me a basketball court, give me a kitchen, give me a cabin, put it away from everybody. What does Murph say? And a golf course. So,
yep.
So we are
here. Yeah, man.
So, okay, so let's talk about this. Some deals are done on the golf course. So should Green Bay, the Jets, and Aaron Rodgers meet on the golf course that's by his cabin where he ran away for a while?
I think they should go meet each other on the 9th green at 9, Dan.
On the night, what'd you say? On the 9th green?
9 o'clock at the 9th green.
Okay.
It's a secret. It's a secret of the pros.
Okay. 9th green.
If you know, you know.
Okay. Is that a closing place?
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Okay. The 9th green at 9. Okay. Well, it's past 9 and it's past time for Aaron Rodgers to make up his mind. I know you're going to tell me he already made it up, but here's the thing. He made it up last year, when he chose Green Bay in an extension, and now he's made it up now that he's chosen the Jets. Here's the thing, and this is where, and I know a lot of people get mad at the NFL owners, but there's some things the owners do right. You have to make sure that you don't put yourself in a position where contracts mean nothing. And in the situation of Aaron Rodgers, if they were to let him just go 5 seconds after he signs a deal, that's long term. Essentially what you're saying to the country is, hey, you can do whatever you want and sign these contracts. And people have been giving the owners flack for years that, well, this guy signed a 5-year deal, you only kept him for 2. Well, in Aaron Rodgers' case, he signed his extension, he's there for 1, and then he's got 3 more, I think it's 3 more years on the contract. So maybe, just maybe, Green Bay and the owners get together and they say to each other, if we let this go and we let him do whatever he wants, are we continuing the narrative and the reality that it doesn't matter if you sign a contract, it doesn't matter how long you sign the contract for. My concern with this Aaron Rodgers deal is he made a commitment to Green Bay after kind of making it sound like Green Bay never committed to him. So then he gets them to make a massive commitment, and then he says, screw your commitment, I'm not committed to you. It seems a little bit double standardy.
A little bit. But, I mean, I think you can also make the argument that Green Bay, after this season, knew it was time to go. They were ready to move on to Jordan Love. They have to make a decision on him, I believe, this year on his 5th-year option. So I don't know what their plans are yet. I mean, obviously now at this point they're going to pick up his 5th-year option, but they needed to know whether he can play or not. So it seems like even though, they made the long-term commitment, once they kind of got handcuffed last year. I mean, even he won back-to-back MVPs. You can't let that dude walk. There's no way. So you sign him to a big extension, knowing full well that it's very possible that next year could be your last year with him, and then you're going to have to trade him. So ultimately, you see Rodgers now having a subpar year for Rodgers standards, still a decent year for a good quarterback. And now the Packers are pretty much ready to move on, and Rodgers is ready to move on as well. So at this point, it's just the best thing for both sides to just cut ties, move on. It's time for Jordan Love in Green Bay. And who knows, maybe 15 years from now, maybe we'll be going down this road again with Jordan Love to the Jets. Who knows?
Well, that's the thing, is we would be 3 for 3. You know, I felt bad. Back in the day, I felt terrible for Aaron Rodgers. I felt really bad that he was handcuffed, that he was sitting there just waiting and waiting, and he was going to be the starting quarterback, and he's training to be the starting quarterback, and then Favre says, I'm coming back. And then it happens again. And then it was like never ending. Year after year after year. And they got toward the end of his contract, right? You know, like 4 years in or something like that. So Green Bay was in a situation with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers of, are we going to keep Aaron? What are we going to do? Because this guy won't retire. This Brett Favre guy doesn't seem to be leaving. So they went through that. And I felt horrible for Aaron Rodgers. Now Aaron Rodgers is playing his best impersonation of Brett Favre. And if he goes to the Jets, even more so. Brett Favre went to the Jets eventually. Brett Favre handcuffed the guy behind him, and now you're going to handcuff Jordan Love and make Jordan Love sit there and wait until you figure out something, and maybe you do and maybe you don't. So my issue is when people pay it forward in a negative way, right? Well, I've been through it, so now you got to go through it. And that's how I feel right now, is it's like, I mean, it's probably not intentional at all, but for Aaron Rodgers to sit there and know everything he went through with Brett. Every moment of that. Am I the quarterback? Am I not the quarterback? When am I going to play? Am I ever going to play? Are people just never even going to get a chance to see me at all? Because have I shown enough that if this team releases me, will anybody even want me? So here's Aaron Rodgers waiting in the wings, knowing what it felt like to go through that garbage. But here he is doing it to Jordan Love. So I don't feel bad for Aaron Rodgers in this case, because he knows what it feels like and he's doing it again. It's kind of like somebody who got cheated on, cheating on somebody else in their next relationship, so that they can now be in the driver's seat of that. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It may be unintentional. It probably is. But my thing with Aaron is, I told you, Murph, how many times did I sit here and tell you something like this? I said, okay, he's supposed to be a Jet. And then a couple days went by. And then a week went by. And I said, wouldn't it be interesting if he didn't become a Jet while everybody's sitting here saying it's a done deal? And he hasn't become a Jet, and it's been over a month. Now, is this a draft day thing? Is this just waiting for the draft? Is this the Jets saying we don't want to give up prime value picks, so let's see how the draft unfolds, and if a couple of our guys aren't there anymore, then maybe we ship them. When is this deal going to be done? Post-draft? During the draft? What do you think?
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if this draft is not done by the start of day 2, it ain't happening until June. And I think I said that last week as well. Because there's a big thing salary cap wise for the Packers right now. If they were to trade him before June 1st, there's a big dead cap hit that they have to deal with. Yeah. If they trade him after June 1st, then that cap hit gets spread over 2 years. So if the Packers can live with not having picks this year, it is in their best interest to wait until June to make this trade. So if this deal does not get done before day 2 of the draft, it's not getting done till June. And I can pretty much promise you that. Because at that point, the Jets will have made their picks.
Yeah.
They will have a new offensive tackle, hopefully. It seems like that's probably what they're going to do. We'll probably get more into that later. They'll have probably another playmaker on offense. And I think they're going to be trying for a center with one of those 2 second-round picks as well.
Yeah.
So if they could do that, rebuild that offensive line, and make this Rodgers trade happen without giving up any assets in 2023, that's best-case scenario. Because you are setting yourself up to win right now.
Yeah.
If they do that and hit on those picks, they and the Chiefs are going to be the 2 favorites in the AFC. Mark my words. With Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, so long as he stays healthy, I'm going to preface it with that, because we all remember how the Brett Favre experience went.
Yeah.
They were great for the first 11 weeks of the year, first 12 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
8-3.
Yeah.
Tears his bicep. They go 9-7. They miss the playoffs. Can't really get on far for that because he was playing through a pretty serious injury.
Yeah.
So, credit to him for staying on the field for that, first of all. But, honestly, whether Rodgers plays in 2024 or not, I don't know. But if they hit on these draft picks this year and they still get Aaron Rodgers without giving up any 2023 assets, outside of maybe like Corey Davis, and I think that's the reason we haven't cut him yet, is because it sounds like he's going to probably be in this deal. This is best case scenario if you're the New York Jets, because you will have 2023. You do not have to give up any assets to make this deal work, to make this deal happen. You will be set up to win, period. With Breece Hall coming back, and it looks like he's going to be ready for week 1. Garrett Wilson with a future Hall of Fame quarterback could become one of the best receivers in the NFL. You've got Alum Lazard, who Rodgers has played with for years, who has already a great chemistry with him. You bring in Mecole Hardman as a very good slot receiver and good special teamer. There was one other receiver they signed. I can't remember his name, though. I can't remember the last guy they signed. I'll figure it out at some point. It'll pop back.
You talked about you said Alan let me see, Braxton Berrios? Or no?
No, they cut him.
No, they cut Braxton Berrios. They got, you mentioned Lazard.
I think it was a guy from the Ravens, maybe.
And so they brought in
Lazard, Mecole Hardman, and there's one more.
Yeah, they brought in Lazard. They brought in Mecole Hardman. They brought in, is Denzel Mims?
No, he was drafted.
Oh, no, wait. Denzel Mims came from...
Hang on.
I don't even know. Trying to think now. Because on the roster, they haven't changed it. Meek Cole came in on March 22nd. He signed a 1-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
And coming over from Kansas City. Braxton Berrios was cut. Alan Lazard signed a 4-year deal. Those are the only ones I got. Jeff Smith he was declared a free agent.
Yeah, he was a free agent.
Rodney
I could be
Adams was
wrong about
cut.
that.
Yeah, I don't think
I could be wrong
anybody
about that,
else.
and that's okay. And it doesn't really matter. I mean,
No, I don't think they brought in anybody else.
I still think they could draft a receiver. I still think they could draft a receiver in the middle round somewhere. I mean, maybe one of those round 2 picks is a receiver.
Yeah.
Who knows? I've also heard rumblings that if Bijan Robinson falls to 13, they might even take him. And in my head, I first heard that a couple of days ago, and I'm like, Bijan Robinson, like, great player. Absolutely, great player. Going to be very good in the NFL. But why? You just drafted Breece Hall last year, who was phenomenal. Yeah, he's going to be coming off a torn ACL, but he was unbelievable. I mean, yeah, you could create one of the best young running back duos in the NFL, but why? I'm just still trying to process why, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the New York Jets, after drafting Michael Carter, went out and drafted Breece Hall. Now, granted, Michael Carter got injured, but I told everybody, because I watched him in college and I know who his coach was, DeAndre Smith, coaching him there for the running backs in Carolina. I knew that Michael Carter was going to have some positive that he was bringing to fantasy and reality with the New York Jets. When he got hurt, I wasn't worried that he was going to come back and with a full season bring it. And they brought in Breece Hall. Then it was the same story. I thought Breece was going to be good. Then he got hurt, and I was like, okay, with a full season, what could he be? And then you have them both, and you say to yourself, well, what are you supposed to do with them? You can't bring in anybody else to that backfield. You can't.
There's no way.
You can't.
I mean, if you want to get a veteran,
if you want to get a veteran that's going to spell
like,
some
fine.
guys. Right. If you want to bring a guy for third
it would
down,
be like bringing in a guy like Frank Gore, like they did a few years ago, but they would actually need to not really play him. Unlike with Frank Gore, that he basically was the lead back, which made zero sense at the time. But that was also a team that was coached by Adam Gase. So,
well, I mean, you guys have made some fun moves before. Adam Gase having one of the worst, showings as a head coach record wise. I'm gonna say one of the. So I'm trying.
All right.
Listen, it's Monday.
Okay.
It's Monday.
I forgot about Urban Meyer. Okay, I forgot about Urban Meyer.
Forgot about Urban Meyer. Forgot about Romeo Crennel. I mean, listen, there's guys that have had some bad days, record wise, as head coaches, and Adam Gase was a guy that I thought was going to be relegated to being a coordinator. God bless you multiple times, and I thought.
Man, I'm still getting over the allergy thing. Like,
dude, it's going to continue.
Allergies have been so bad. It's been really bad.
It's been 80, 50, 40, 20. It's all over the place. Yesterday,
I can't stop coughing. Game. That's my problem.
Well, my thing yesterday, I was at the Lemoyne NE10 Championships for men's tennis against SNU and Southern New Hampshire, for those that don't know what I meant and thought that I sneezed. But that match, I genuinely thought it was going to snow. I genuinely thought it was going to snow yesterday. And so, and the 2 days before, it was 85 degrees outside. So all I'm saying is, if we can keep an even keel weather thing here, and then when your boy gets to travel down to the Sunshine State, then I'll have my even keel weather there and have a nice time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so getting back to what we were talking about here, Adam Gase, because I know you love talking about him and remembering that he was your head coach. But
oh God,
listen, that was one of the dumbest moves I've ever seen in football. It was one of the one of the strangest. I genuinely thought he was going to be relegated to a coordinator or an assistant coach, and then the Jets were like, and he was the first coach that was let go. So Miami lets him go, and the Jets don't even think about it. It feels like, and within days they're like, "That's our guy." Remember that guy in the division that couldn't win a game that we beat? Let's bring him here so we can beat ourselves. And that, it'll never make sense to me. The Urban Meyer thing, it was a splash. It was the Jacksonville Jaguars for the first time besides Tom Coughlin, but in a different way. It was like it was putting themselves in the news by bringing in Urban Meyer, right? It was giving them some publicity, good, bad, or indifferent, and it didn't work out. Doug Peterson, I saw his first video walking into the palace of the Jaguars, if I may call it that. And as he was walking in, he's smiling, he's having a good time. He looked like a guy that like you could walk up to at the airport, and he would just talk to you. Like he just looked like everybody's dad, right? Like you just walk up to him and baggage claim, and you're like, "Hey, are you Doug Peterson?" He's like, "I am," and you're just sitting there talking about hot dogs and stuff. Like he just seems like a nice guy. And I remember when I saw that first video, I said to myself, "I think I like him. I think I like this," and I can continue that conversation having been in the locker room all season, the faith, the talk about God. And one of his players said to me flat out, he's like, when your head coach brings their own like chaplain, when he brings someone to, our prayer or to our, when we get together and we, kind of share our faith, when he has his own person, it says something about him as a coach. He's a different coach. He's a difference maker. And, beyond that, I know that you miss Adam Gase. I know it's been really tough for you. I know it's been hard. I know that he would have loved, I think Aaron Rodgers would have loved to play for him. And, the world could have changed in an instant for the Jets. I'm kidding. Because I know that the thing is, people don't know what sarcasm is anymore because not everybody. There's a few idiots in the world that get butthurt about everything. You get
oh
Jif
my
peanut
God!
butter.
We don't need to start about that.
It's like, do you really have Jif peanut butter? I'm triggered. You're triggered by what? Well, my mom had Jif, and my mom never bought me the toy I wanted when I was 5. So Jif is sexist. No, it's not.
It's the same. Well, now, granted, I am partaking in the boycott of Bud Light, but it's the same thing. Yeah. You can't. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say we're not doing the same thing because we are, literally. But the difference is when one side wants to cancel something, it only makes it bigger. When the other side wants to cancel something, they actually cancel it.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to leave it there. I don't think we need any political stuff in here, but I'll just leave it there. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. No, listen, this is how I feel about it. Understand sarcasm, people. Joke around. I had some woman try to teach me in this dating world, which we never went on a date, but we're texting back and forth, and I said a joke, but I didn't say LOL, and I didn't write an emoji, so I got a tutorial on LOL and emoji and why you should use it and what it means and how it can teach people things, and you need to do it this way because I do it this way, and even when people know me. So I was like, all right, you know what? From here on out, when I joke with all my friends, I'm going to just send LOL, and I'm going to put in parentheses, did you know to laugh? Or I'll put insert laughter because it's just the dumbest thing in the world. But that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sarcasm. Adam Gase, he didn't fit. It didn't make sense. There's certain things that happen in the NFL that don't make sense, or in general in sports, that don't make sense. Moves that they say nothing's foolproof, but every once in a while, Adam Gase getting another head coaching job and going to the Jets that had already seen him twice, that didn't make any sense. The other thing that I can point to that didn't make any sense, DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson and that trade flip. That stuff.
That was one of the dumbest trades I've ever seen.
Right.
Oh my God.
But let's discuss
that was
trades.
Awful.
Let's discuss trades. I have a thought, and it's a thought, that in this year's NFL draft, the Houston Texans or the Indianapolis Colts, picking at 2 and 4 respectively, one of them is waiting, and we're wondering what's going on with Lamar and why is this taking so long, that there could be a plan in place to trade Lamar to Houston or Indy. Those are the two teams that make the most sense in the top 10 to me. To trade him there, and Baltimore from 22nd will move up to whichever spot, 2 or 4, and draft Anthony Richardson. Thoughts?
See, that's the only team I feel like if you put him in right away, it could work. Like, and I've been saying this for a while, and don't get me wrong, diehard Florida fan. I love Anthony Richardson. I think he can be I'm going to emphasize can be great in the NFL.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he will be. But that is the only situation where I think it could work from day one if you start him.
Yeah.
Now, and that's just because that's the way that offense is designed. However, any other situation you put him in, Seattle, Indy, Houston, anywhere else, you need to let him sit for at least a year, if not two, so that he can learn how to play in the NFL, so he can fix his mechanics, he can become a more accurate passer. The physical traits are there. He's got a cannon for an arm. He's one of the fastest quarterbacks to come out of the NFL draft in many, many years, other than outside of Lamar and maybe Cam Newton. The way I would describe Anthony Richardson is Lamar's speed with Cam Newton's body. He's a big body quarterback with ridiculous speed.
Yeah.
He could, in theory, play wide receiver. He won't because he's got a cannon for an arm and he's still a good quarterback. But I was thinking if he came out of the draft this year, came out of Florida this year to go to the draft, he wouldn't go in the first round.
Yeah.
And I'm a little shocked that he's flying up draft boards this fast. Now, did he kill the combine? Yes, absolutely he did. But you just got to look at the tape.
Yeah.
I mean, watching him the last 2 years, there's really nothing that tells me that he's going to be a successful quarterback from day one. Honestly. And it hurts me to say it because I like the guy. But there's just nothing that makes me think he's going to be a successful day one starter. And like I said, Baltimore is the only team that might make sense to start him day one. And even then, I wouldn't do it.
Well, the thing is there seems to be, right? There seems to be that these guys come up and their draft stock will just fly up. Because people look at certain things. No matter what we do and what we say and what makes sense, people will always look at 40 times until they don't. And he had a 4.38 40-yard dash at the combine. He had a 4.37 at pro day. So people will look at that and say, wow, that man's fast. But the thing is, can he lead? Is he going to be accurate? Is he an everyday quarterback in the NFL? Because there seems to always be somebody that just flies up the board, like Trey Lance. We're seeing
Wilson.
And Zach Wilson.
What?
But when Trey Lance,
What did you say?
You said Zach Wilson. But when Trey Lance, San Francisco has the 12th pick. God bless you a bunch of other times. The 12th pick San Fran has, they trade up 9 spots to go to the 3rd. They draft a guy who threw 50 touchdowns in a season but only had 1 season. We look at Dwayne Haskins, God rest his soul. He had 1 season. It was like 58 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, somewhere around that world. And he jumped up draft boards.
He was also at Ohio State, though.
Right. But we were looking at 1 season. Trey Lance,
That's
we were
true.
looking at 1 season. Anthony Richardson, for all intents and purposes, we're kind of looking at one season.
Full season.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
one and a half seasons, I guess you could say.
So we've done this
because
with
it was an issue with last year with him and Emory Jones. Like they couldn't figure out who to start, they had a horrible year last year.
Right.
That was what got Dan Mullen fired, and it's unfortunate because I think Dan Mullen was a great coach.
Yeah, but we're looking at
now you got
quarterbacks like Anthony that have 1 season as the true starter.
Mm-hmm.
And there seems to always be that story of that guy. Do we take a flyer on him after he was a starter for 1 year and he looked really good and he flies up the board? You know, they said last year at this time, Brendan, don't worry about this year's quarterbacks. 2022 NFL draft doesn't have many. It's the 2023 that's going to be stock full of them. You can't wait.
It's the other way around.
And how I feel right now is I ask people this all the time, and I'm going to ask you it. Who's the best quarterback to be drafted this year? Who do you think is the number 1 quarterback Is there a guy 100% without doubt the guy? Without doubt.
I say C.J. Stroud.
Okay, you say C.J.
Honestly,
Stroud.
I say C.J. Stroud, and the reason I say that,
Okay.
2 years at Ohio State as the starter, he's got all the tools, and he's going to be put in a decent situation. If he goes number one, and the thing is, the line's been switching constantly. We have no idea what the Panthers are going to do.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
If they take Stroud number one, I think he could be really, really good. I truly believe that. And nothing against Bryce Young.
Yeah.
But the problem with Bryce Young is he reminds me a lot of Kyler Murray. And not in a bad way.
Yeah.
But he's small. He's, well, I think he's the same height as Kyler. I think Bryce Young's what, 5'10"? If that. But he's small like Kyler Murray. He's got a big arm. He's accurate. But we've really only seen one quarterback that small have success in the NFL. Yeah. And his name is Drew Brees.
Yeah. Well, and my man Doug Flutie wasn't that big either.
Yeah, but Doug Flutie was probably no more so as a kicker than a quarterback.
But you're talking about Bryce Young, Kyler Murray, both 5'10". Here's my thing, and this is why I asked you the question. There's no definite that's the guy. Because
absolutely. That's just my opinion.
Other people
you're absolutely right.
Other people would say Bryce Young. There's certain years where we knew. Like 2 years ago.
Some will say Anthony Richardson.
Right. But 2 years ago, who was the guy?
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence.
Undisputed.
Undisputed. Without question. Without question. He was the number
Same
one
with
guy.
Joe Burrow the year he got in 2020 when he got drafted.
When Caleb Williams comes out of USC, I think he's
100%. I mean, if you look at next year's quarterback class, it's Caleb Williams and everybody else.
Yeah. So there's no...
I don't even know who else is going to come out next year.
Right. But people aren't paying attention because they care about Caleb Williams. So the thing is, for me, if there isn't a distinct guy, then this class is not... I mean, now you can argue, okay, well, there's not a distinct guy because they're all on the same level playing field. I don't feel like if I drafted Bryce Young, I'm not 100% good with being like, that's my starter from day one. C.J. Stroud, Will Levis, Hendon Hooker, Anthony Richardson. I want these guys to learn. When you tell me that these the 2023 class, it's chock full of guys, you're not even going to believe. There's so many. You can't miss. Well, then why don't I see any of them as a true starter from day zero? If you're going to be 100%. My guy, you're going to be my guy from day zero. Trevor Lawrence, without question, when he got drafted, I said, all right, that's our quarterback. Let's go. I don't want to wait 10 weeks. Let's just do it. Let's run it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe we have that this year. I believe this year, as much as people say that it's not the sexy thing to do, and I always find it interesting when people talk about sex in sports, because I feel like it's just a bunch of grown people that are backed up a little bit, but that's a story for another day. Because I don't like when they say a sexy pick. I'm like, have I ever looked at the number 9 and been like, you know what, that number 9 turns me on. That's a sexy pick. So I mean, if numbers are turning you on and people enjoy, I mean, whatever, live your life, do you, boo boo. But the reality of it all for me is, I think what they call the non-sexy pick, what I call the, pick that people maybe aren't as focused on, is the world of the offensive line. But that could rule the first round of the draft. So,
and it will.
You know what I mean? So, like, those are the picks that people are like, and maybe they know a little bit more now because of the internet and all this stuff over the years. But for me, I'm looking at the first round saying to myself, and you look at draft needs for each team, and if you go just through the top 10 and you say, okay, Carolina needs a lot. Yeah, they need a quarterback, but they also need an edge rusher. I wouldn't be surprised if they went after a defensive lineman and shocked everybody. Houston needs a lot of help. They have Davis Mills. He's serviceable from Stanford. They got him in the 3rd round a few years ago. Arizona, I believe they need a running back. They need a tight end. Arizona,
they're going to trade back.
Right. I mean, they could, and they could grab more capital. The Colts, they need defensive help. It's like, they need a quarterback. They've been changing them like underwear. but they also need help on the defensive side of the ball. The Seattle Seahawks, they need to focus on defense. Maybe they get a wide receiver, but I think most of it's focusing on defense, maybe getting somebody on the offensive line. Detroit, they could build for the future, but they need some help on the offensive side of it. Jamison Williams is suspended. You got all these issues, so maybe you draft a corner, maybe you draft a wide receiver because of all the stuff that happened with gambling. The Raiders need a bunch of help. The Atlanta Falcons need a bunch of different positions. The Bears need a bunch of positions. Philadelphia just made it to the Super Bowl, so where can they improve? So maybe they look at some things defensively so they're more ready for a guy like Pat Mahomes, like you can be ready for a guy like Pat Mahomes, but maybe you go find a stud there. You go find a corner, you go find an edge guy, you find a linebacker who can be a hybrid, something like that. I mean, there's not a definite here in the top 10 of saying quarterback, 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 quarterback. They don't necessarily need it. Tennessee doesn't need it. The Houston Texans are going to get another pick at 12. So again, that makes even more sense to me. If Houston trades for Lamar Jackson, they still have the 12th pick. And then they're going to get Baltimore's 22nd pick. Well, no, because
there's no way. There's no way that they'd make that trade without giving up both first-round picks. Well, there's no way.
If they were to, at worst case scenario, because I believe they could give up the second overall pick. They can give up a pick next year in the first round. They could try and spread out their first-round picks, maybe give something up in the second round, maybe give up a bunch of capital this year. But if they kept that, arguably, they keep 12, and then they would get Baltimore's 22nd. So they would still pick twice in the first round, even if they traded for Lamar Jackson, which could still work in their favor.
I don't think there's any way they would. There's no way Baltimore would give up that pick. I wouldn't consider that as being a trade up. I would consider it to basically be you are trading for Lamar Jackson.
Well,
you're not trading down.
Well, this is the thing is if you trade for Lamar and Houston says, now what does Houston do? If Houston says we'll give you our second, give you our 12, do they want to give up all of that capital for Lamar? Maybe they do. They've made dumb moves before, but Bill O'Brien's not there anymore. So if and when they were to do something like that, does Houston want to trade completely out of the first round and keep everything else? In that case, I would say, okay,
they have to.
You can have 2 and 12 for Lamar, but you can't have anything else. Because if I'm going to give you 2 first-rounders in the same year, then I'm not going to give you 2 first-rounders, second round, third round, next year's first round. I'm not going to do that. And the thing is, what's the ask for Lamar? Because here's the other thing, too, with Baltimore. Where's the market for Lamar? Is there no market for Lamar, which I find hard to believe? Or is there collusion of the owners saying, we can't negotiate with this guy without an agent? Because now the agents are losing their mind going, if you sign him to a deal and he doesn't have an agent, and he doesn't have to pay an agent 5% or 10%, now we're in a new world, new territory where guys are going to start not hiring agents and taking 100% of the money. So is there really not a place for Lamar? Is it just waiting till draft day, or is it collusion?
I think it could be teams realizing he's just not that good. Honestly. I mean, and I also don't necessarily believe that, he's much of a team player. I mean, the guys like him, sure. But, you're going into the playoffs. You've been out for 4 weeks. If there's any possibility that you can play in that playoff game, you play. That's what leaders do.
Yeah.
He is not a leader. He is not a good quarterback. And I think teams are realizing that, honestly. But going back to the Houston thing, if they were to make that trade, first of all, there's no way they're getting Baltimore's first-round pick. Absolutely no way. The only way they keep number 12 is if they give them the first this year, they give up number 2, they give them their first-round pick next year, and maybe like a 2 in there as well. Maybe like 1 and 2 this year and a 2 next year. Or and a 1 next year. That's the only way they get it done.
Well, because
you can't think of...
They'd give 2 ones this year or a 1 and a 1. I'd rather give a 1 and then next year deal with whatever that is and hope that we play well and that drops than to give up the 2 and the 12. That's too much capital.
Who wouldn't? Absolutely.
It's too much capital.
But, I mean, if you're Baltimore, I'm taking that in a heartbeat. Because you're getting you could take Anthony Richardson number 2, which, to be honest, if they're going to pick second overall, they'd be foolish not to take him. because he basically fits exactly what that team is built to do.
Right now, yeah.
He's got a better arm than Lamar. He's not a better passer than Lamar. And that's saying something because Lamar's not a good passer. But that team is built around a mobile quarterback. And Lamar runs for 1,000 yards just about every year. So that's a team that I think that makes a lot of sense for Anthony Richardson. But if you're Baltimore and you take that pick, you keep your pick at 22 or 29, whatever it is.
22, yeah.
Yeah. And then you get Houston's first next year.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, if you're a reasonable football fan, you can't tell me that Lamar in Houston's going to work out any better than Russell Wilson in Denver. There's no way. So that pick's probably still going to be a high pick next year. If I'm Baltimore, I am taking that in a heartbeat.
Well, the thing is, though, is if this class really isn't a bunch of day one starters like you and I believe, we don't believe that it is. We don't believe that this is a class where guys are going to come right in and play or should come right in and play. If that's the place, then Houston or Indy can be vulnerable to Now, this is what I'm thinking. If I'm the Baltimore Ravens, I'm going to really lean heavy. I'm gonna call a little bit this week on today. Then I'm gonna check in tomorrow. Then I might wait. Then I'm gonna be on this thing, just kind of laying the foundation, laying the doubt, seeing if it works. Do you want to roll the dice on Bryce? Do you want to roll the dice on CJ? Do you want to roll the dice on Richardson? Or would you like a guy who's already been here for a few years, a guy who's led his team to the playoffs, a guy who's won in college and won in the pros and done some good things? Would you like Lamar so you don't have to deal with, what if I roll the dice and this doesn't work out? You got a better chance it works with Lamar than it's going to work with these other guys. That's the
you're not wrong.
But that's the selling point. If I'm Baltimore, I'm getting into the head of Houston and Indy. I'm sending a text message and a phone call today. Then maybe tomorrow it's 2 texts and 2 phone calls. Then Wednesday, maybe I'm just kind of laying the foundation. Maybe I'm sending a quote by Confucius. Maybe I'm sending a Nostradamus quote. Maybe I'm throwing something out there, giving them a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Maybe I'm sending them a gif of a raven. I don't know. But I'm going to get in their head and say to them, you can have Lamar. We know Lamar is good. And then they would say back to, well, what are you guys going to do? Hey, you know what? We've had our time with Lamar. We appreciate it. It's not that he's not talented. It's just that, in this building, some personalities clash. But we think you should have him because he's a really good talent. He just doesn't fit with us anymore. He fits schematically, but he doesn't fit with our culture. There's been a lot of stuff that's gone on as far as just, different personalities. But you guys got good personalities in Houston. You guys can figure it out in Indy. Why don't you take this guy off our hands? And we're willing to take your pick this year and your pick next year. You keep number 12, what you got to do, Houston. You be fine with that, and we'll be okay. I think that you just get in their head, because I'm going to tell you something. Whether or not they admit it on draft day, Houston and Indy are going to be thinking, we could take the guy that's already been here, or we can roll the dice. And I think one of them might fold and say, all right, Baltimore, what do you got for us? It may get done. It may not get done. I'm just saying, don't be surprised if it gets done.
It's a really, really interesting proposition. It really, really is. And what a blockbuster trade that would be on draft day, though.
Oh, yeah.
That would be one of the biggest draft day trades you've ever seen. Even more than A.J. Brown to the Eagles last year. And that was a blockbuster in the middle of the first round that we saw. But yeah, I mean, if you're Houston and Indy, yeah, it does make sense to go with the more established guy. But at the same time, you got to think of it this way: you're giving up at least 2 first-round picks to get him.
Yeah.
Right. Which basically means you are not bringing in any talent around him unless you nail your 2nd and 3rd round picks, which doesn't happen very often. So if you're able to do that, all power to you. But the problem is they need so much more than just a quarterback. Denver was the same way. They were probably a little further along than these 2 teams, but trading for Russell Wilson last year made a lot of sense for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, looking at Tennessee, or not Tennessee, at Houston and Indianapolis, those are two teams that are way more than a quarterback away. Their offense is in shambles, both of them. Their defenses aren't good. They have okay coaches. If I'm Lamar, why would I want to go there?
Yeah.
Really? And at the same time, if you're these two teams, you have to completely change your offense to revolve around this guy.
Yeah.
It's a totally different style of football that he plays. And that's why Baltimore's been successful with him, because they basically took their offense and catered it around Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Which is why I think Anthony Richardson could make sense in that situation.
Yeah.
Now, if Lamar were to go back to Baltimore, yeah, they'll be fine. It wouldn't be an issue. I think Lamar would be annoyed that he's not getting paid what he thinks he's worth and everything. And we can honestly blame the horrible contract that the Browns signed with Deshaun Watson last year on why he wants as much as he does.
Which screwed it up for everybody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100% it did.
Yeah.
And then it was the same thing with the Jalen Hurts contract last week. Jalen Hurts is only getting paid that because of what Deshaun Watson got.
Yeah, because
don't get me wrong,
can't extend Jalen Hurts after going to the Super Bowl in a short amount of time. You can't extend him and give him less than Deshaun. Basically, any
100%.
quarterback better than Deshaun should ask and will ask, and I should ask for, and I would be surprised if they didn't ask for more, north of 230. And I'm telling you this right now.
And I wouldn't blame him.
And I'm putting this down right now. Don't be surprised. I know people say Cincinnati's cheap, blah, blah, blah. Don't be surprised if Burrow gets 280 or 290. And I'm not saying guaranteed. I'm just saying if that number shows up. Don't be surprised.
Mm-hmm. That would not shock me one bit.
And then that would put Trevor Lawrence.
Joe Burrow still got to get paid.
Well, that's the thing. And then they would put Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence is going to have to get paid.
And by the way, can the media, I think the media creates problems. I don't think they do. I know that they do because I've watched it happen for almost 20 years. The media creates problems. They create things that they don't want to deal with. They just like seeing the drama. It's like when if you're watching Real Housewives and three of the housewives are sitting at the table and one of them knows that the other one might have misheard the other one. So then they're like, hey, did you hear that Sheila said da-da-da? And then she's like, can you believe that Sarah said da-da? And they go back and forth with each other. That's how I feel the media is in a lot of cases with a lot of things. And so whoever asked Trevor Lawrence about these contracts, stop it. Because it's like they're like, oh, what do you think? Oh, what is it? Look at the value. Because what he's doing is setting up Trevor Lawrence to ask for $300 million. And the thing is I get it. I know. I want Trevor to get his money. I understand that. But it's like people are starting 2 years in advance to say, hey, Trev, what do you think? What's it? Because they want that drama. They want that price to skyrocket so that they could write something about it instead of thinking about the fact that maybe Trevor isn't sitting here worried about everything else going on. He sees it. He knows it. But it's almost like the media plays. It's not almost like they do. They play into something and they try to push it and then they complain about it. It's like they don't want it to happen, but then they try to force it to happen and then they hate that it happened. But in the case of Trevor Lawrence, listen, we should be negotiating now as the Jaguars for what's coming within the next couple of years. And I wouldn't be surprised if $300 million was at the end of that contract. Better be 6 years. But the reality for me is, can we not ask our baby quarterback about these contracts that are being signed, and can I just live in a world where maybe it won't break the bank? But I think Trevor understands that, yeah, he wants to get paid. But Trevor's the type of guy who I think he gets, you got to take care of the whole team or else you're not going to win a championship.
This is why I love Trevor Lawrence, man. And the reason I say that is because if he follows the Tom Brady model, and says, pay the guys, then worry about me.
Yeah. Then they're going to win.
They are going to win multiple Super Bowls. Mark my words. If he does that, that's the issue I see with Philly and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts signs a $255 million contract, getting paid $51 million a year. Where's the money coming to pay the other guys? Where is that money coming from? Honestly, Philly's not winning anything with Jalen now. I mean, I guess if it depends on when the contract officially starts.
Yeah.
So if the contract doesn't officially start till next year, okay. Maybe one more. Maybe they'll have a chance this year. But now that he's getting paid all that money, there's no way they're going to be able to win with him. The only one that has, since getting a massive contract, that has won anything is Patrick Mahomes. And keep in mind, Patrick Mahomes is very close to being the most talented player to ever step on a football field. I don't think he's quite met that distinction yet, but he's not far off. But I think he will. So when you have a guy that's making $50 million, you cannot pay the rest of your team. Why do you think Tyreek Hill got traded?
Yeah. I mean, that the thing is besides Pat Mahomes, who can prove that making a ton of money like that on average, that you could still win. I mean, Patty Mahomes can do it, but Aaron Rodgers hasn't done it. And Aaron Rodgers got worse when he signed for more money. Hurts, we'll see. We'll see what Hurts does. But a lot of guys, it doesn't work out in that favor. We're going to take a step aside, though, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're starting the week off draft week, baby. Talking about the NFL draft, and in just a little bit at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be picture-in-picture with Matt Bergeron. Everybody wants to hear from Berge, Syracuse offensive tackle alum, heading to the NFL draft, and we're going to get everything about Berge from Berge himself. So a lot of people talk about this, that, and the other. Well, Matt Bergeron is going to be telling us exactly what's going on in his world. Excited to have him on the show at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Before then, we have more from DT and Murphy. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we spin back around on this thing, Murph's going to tell me what the Jets need the most. I'm going to say what my Jags need the most. And we're going to discuss back and forth and put each other on the hot seat here in the first round of the NFL draft. And we'll have a little bit of fun with that, which is coming up this Thursday. A lot of great stuff here on Wake Up Call right after this.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life. Brendan Murphy here with me for DT and Murphy. We're talking NFL draft to start off the week, as we know that the draft will be here, believe it or not, folks. I wait for it and wait for it and wait for it, and then it sneaks right up into everybody's world. It'll be this Thursday night, and guess what? This Thursday, you got a place to be. Pizza Man is where we're going to be. Head over to the Pizza Man Pub on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville, New York, this Thursday, April 27th, as I will be sitting in with Al Romano, who won a national championship with the Pitt Panthers, Tony Dorsett and the crew. Come hang out with us on the stage at Pizza Man Pub. We'll be out there giving our mock draft and leading you all the way into the first round and staying with you for a little bit there in the first round. So we will prime you into the draft, give you our mock draft, and make draft night extra special in Central and Upstate New York. So draft night comes to the Pizza Man Pub this week, and we can't wait to see you over at Pizza Man. So 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville, New York will be there for you this Thursday, April 27th, Al and I. So a lot of great stuff coming up, and we will continue throughout this week to bring you coverage of the NFL draft. So with that being said, Murph, your Jets are on the clock, and the team needs for the Jets are blank, and who do they take?
Team needs are, well, let's put it this way. Offensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
That is priority number one. I'm trying to pull up the mock draft simulator. I don't know if anybody's ever done the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator, which is actually really cool. So I'm basically, what I'm going to go in and do here. No, I don't want the Raiders. What I'm going to go in and do here is kind of pull up and see what, and I'll try my best to show it. It's really hard to see, but I'll try my best to kind of show what happens here. So, all right. So Jets are on the clock.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run you through the first 12 picks here. So according to Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator, now there weren't any trades in here. So in order, so no trades that are different than usual. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, Will Levis, Peter Skoronski, Devin Witherspoon, Anthony Richardson to the Raiders, which is interesting. Jackson Smith and Jigba to the Falcons at number 8. Jalen Carter to the Bears. Bijan Robinson to the Eagles. I don't know how to say this. The D lineman from Pittsburgh. Can't see. I don't know how to say his first name. And then Dalton Kincaid, the tight end, to the Texans at 12. You could probably help me out with that since you cover Pitt in the ACC.
Kalijah.
Okay. So now we're sitting at 13. All these tackles outside of one are still on the board. Paris Johnson's still there. Broderick Jones still there. Darnell Wright from Tennessee is still there. Those are really the big four, along with Peter Skoronski. So in this mock draft, only one tackle went in the first 12 picks, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So if I'm the Jets, I'm sitting here looking at this draft board. There's two logical options here. And you've got Paris Johnson and Broderick Jones.
Yeah.
Now, obviously I'm not the most well-versed in the offensive tackle game. But from what I have heard and seen, if Paris Johnson is still sitting there at number 13, that's who you've got to take. Now, obviously, Skoronski is the number one guy that we've seen, and that was why he went a little earlier in this. But really, really interesting that Paris Johnson's still on the board here. So I think if he falls in your lap at 13,
yeah,
you basically get on the clock, write the pick, send it in without even thinking about it. And you go with Paris Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this, and I did the same simulator for the Jaguars. And in mine, Bryce Young went first to the Panthers, C.J. Stroud to the Texans, Jalen Carter out of Georgia to Arizona, then Will Levis to the Colts. Will Anderson Jr., who's been on the show from Alabama, goes to Seattle. And then we have tackle Peter Skoronski from Northwestern, Devin Witherspoon, a corner, is the first corner off the board. The Falcons at 8 taking Anthony Richardson. Doesn't make sense to me when you have Desmond Ridder. Dalton Kincaid goes to the Bears. Christian Gonzalez, corner, goes to the Eagles. I can understand that. Bijan Robinson goes to the Titans, which doesn't make sense to me because they already have 2 guys. They have Dontrell Hillier with Derrick Henry. Then Jackson Smith and Jigba goes to Houston, wide receiver. Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that is. Brian Branch goes to your Jets, safety at 13, who if they fell to the Jaguars.
That makes no sense.
So I mean, again, this is simulator. This is not me doing it. Edge rusher Miles Murphy goes to the Patriots. Kalijah Cansey goes to Green Bay. Michael Mayer, tight end, goes to Washington. They need a tight end. Paris Johnson, but probably early. Paris Johnson Jr., a tackle out of Ohio State, goes to the Steelers. Nolan Smith from the edge goes to, I covered him at Georgia. He goes to the Lions. Deontay Banks, corner, goes to Tampa. Joey Porter Jr., corner, goes to Seattle, which I'm okay with that too. Quentin Johnston, wide receiver, TCU, goes to the Chargers. Darnell Wright out of Tennessee, a tackle, goes to Baltimore. Emmanuel Forbes at corner out of Mississippi State goes to Minnesota, which, there's corners taken all the time. So then that leaves me Broderick Jones out of Georgia. And so
that's interesting.
If that happened, then I feel like you have to take him. And Jacksonville over the years is known for taking SEC players and putting them on the team, especially on the line. We've had Florida guys, we've had Florida guys, Alabama guys, Kentucky guys. Just last year, 3 of the 5 offensive linemen. That's what you're looking at. So I mean, if Broderick Jones is still there, then I would imagine you have to take him. And just kind of looking at some of these other pieces here. I mean,
Can he play the interior?
Broderick,
Can he play guard?
I think a guy for the thing is we need a tackle. So we got rid of Juwan Taylor, so we would need somebody to go on the outside. Can they go interiorly? I think any of these guys will tell you that they're willing to shift and move if they need to, and they probably have learned multiple positions. Outside of that, Anton Harrison from Oklahoma is there at tackle, still for us. Osiris Torrance, guard out of Florida. DeJuan Jones, Ohio State tackle. But I would think if Broderick's there, you got to take Broderick. I mean, if
that makes a lot of sense.
If the draft happened the way that it's happening in my simulator, then that would make sense to me.
And I don't think it will. I mean, I think I would not be shocked if Broderick Jones doesn't make it past the Jets.
Yeah.
But, obviously, like I said, in my simulation, I'd seen that Paris Johnson was falling and that only one tackle got picked in the first 12 picks. So I was happy to take Paris Johnson Jr. But I think that would make a lot of sense for the Jags to get Trevor Lawrence some protection. And I think Broderick Jones would be a great fit for them if he makes it that far.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we got to – I mean, my headspace has been offensive line. It's been that way for a while now with the Jaguars' first-round pick, which is going to come at 24th. It's the 25th pick, but it's coming at 24th because Miami forfeited the 21st pick. So, to everybody that's confused, seeing that their team has like 2 numbers next to them, 24, 25, 22, 23, that's what that is because the Miami forfeited. They should just call them up. And, I mean, there's 31 picks in the first round instead of 32 because of it. And we'll go from there with it. But, yeah, I mean, I've been thinking Jacksonville offensive line, offensive tackle pretty much this whole time. It's been weeks of me thinking that. So I'm going to look at best available offensive linemen and see what tackles are available in the first round at 24. And that's probably going to be my board if I'm Jacksonville.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean,
so I actually submitted the Paris Johnson pick here.
Okay,
and it simulated to the second round, and I'm very disappointed to say that John Michael Schmitz did not make it to the Jets at 42. So that's the guy that every Jets mock draft, especially from the fans, that's the guy we've been centered on.
Okay,
no pun intended.
I like it.
So interior offensive line is definitely an issue.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the other option you got is Luke Whippler from Ohio State, who I've also heard very good things about. But according to the ADP of the Pro Football Focus draft, looks like that would be a bit of a reach. Now, the other guy that's still on the board that's very interesting, and I think you could make a case for him with one of these two picks, Zay Flowers from Boston College is still on the board at 42.
Yeah.
So that is really interesting. So I think with these two picks, if I'm looking at it right now, I'm going to take Luke Whippler with the first and Zay Flowers with the second.
Yeah.
And see what the rest of the mock draft does.
And I just ran the mock draft again just to see. I just ran it again, and Broderick Jones was drafted one position ahead of the Jaguars. So Minnesota played spoiler, which left Anton Harrison, DeJuan Jones again, Cody Mauch, Matt Bergeron. So like I said, here's Berge, who I'm going to talk to in a few minutes, and he spent some time with Jacksonville. So here's Berge is the number 4 number in the top 4 of best available tackles. So just for argument's sake, I'm going to take Berge, and I'm going to see what happens here into the next round and what's the best available after this. So I'm going to let this run through to Jacksonville, who's picking 56th. Their best available, Drew Sanders, linebacker out of Arkansas. And then, there's a H-back or two that's got to be mixed into this. I'm not looking at wide receiver at all in this situation. But there's an edge rusher from LSU where, there's a bunch of edge guys still here. Keon White from Georgia Tech, BJ from LSU still available. You look at Clark Phillips, a cornerback out of Utah, which could help them. Keely Ringo, cornerback out of Georgia, who can, I think, play multiple places. He's still available there at 56. So that could be some of the places that they could go to. I think they switched to defense in the second round. They got Green Bay taking Hendon Hooker in my mock draft here.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, so they do have Green Bay taking Hendon Hooker. I'm looking at, for argument's sake, I'm looking to see if the Jets take a quarterback. They don't. They got him taking Nathaniel Dell, who I covered at Houston, wide receiver, and Tyreek Stevenson, a corner out of Miami, in their back-to-back picks.
That makes sense.
So
I still think center is where they're going to focus on in round 2.
Yeah.
But
y'all need to protect the quarterback.
Oh, 100%.
I'm going to draft Keely Ringo just to see what happens here. And so they're going to grade my draft. Let's see how they grade.
They actually don't grade them anymore.
Oh no, you have to pay.
I was looking at that. Yeah, and I'm not paying for that.
Yeah.
So
I'll grade my own. I think I've done enough years in this sport to grade my own. Let's see what we got. We got some other things coming in here. What did Matt say? Since you guys were on the subject of quarterbacks, word is that the Titans are looking to move Ryan Tannehill, possibly to move in the draft, either trade with one of the top 5 teams with him, or go to to group a bunch of picks to entice one of those teams. Who do you think the best fit would be? I'm thinking the Texans, since there's rumors that they might not draft a quarterback. Here's the thing, Matt. I appreciate the question, and Matt and Greg are sending in a bunch of stuff. Appreciate it. If it was up to me, Matt, I don't believe that Houston or Indy is going to want Ryan Tannehill. I'm going to tell you why. Ryan Tannehill is toward the back 9, and if you know, you know. I'll throw that back at Brendan for that. But he's toward the back 9 here of his career, and I don't think that Houston would get much more than, you got a Davis Mills who can trend upward. I don't think you bring in Ryan Tannehill, who's not going to give you, maybe he'll give you a year or two. Definitely don't think that for Indy for the same reasons, but Indy's been through more of it. I don't think Indianapolis is going to take another quarterback on the back 9 of his career and play that guy, knowing that they're going to have to find somebody after that. With Indy going from quarterback to quarterback to quarterback to quarterback, they're not going to take a guy like Ryan Tannehill for a year or two. So I don't believe that happens. If Ryan Tannehill got traded, the question is, who would be the best fit to take Tannehill? Well, I'll run you through and then Brendan, feel free to give your thoughts. Carolina.
Well, I'm actually interested right now. Just kind of looking at it, what we said with Houston and Indy. I would not hate that at all for either one of those teams. And the only reason I say that is if you're still going to take a quarterback in the first round, and we've talked about these guys should not start day 1.
Right.
Ryan Tannehill is simply a stopgap quarterback at this point.
Right.
I would not, especially the Colts. If the Colts want to take a guy like Will Levis, who's really raw and not quite, not quite ready to start in the NFL, who's a very good talent, very good prospect, I would not hate Ryan Tannehill starting for a year or two there at all. Because you let Will Levis sit. Tannehill's a true pro. Yeah. He's been around the block. He understands how to win. He's won in the playoffs before. So I would not hate that at all. Honestly, even Houston. But I think the only way you do it is if you're still going to draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
And you do it with the intention of that quarterback sitting for at least a year.
Well, this is the thing. So you bring a wrinkle in. You're bringing the wrinkle in. See, I'm looking at it from the status of, and Matt,
starting quarterback.
Yeah,
okay.
Matt, thanks for the question. But see, I'm doing it from the sense of if I'm bringing him into Houston or Indy, and he's gonna and Ryan Tannehill is gonna be my guy right now, and this other wrinkle of the quarterback is not in there. Now, if the wrinkle is in there, then yeah, okay. If I'm gonna trade for Ryan Tannehill and I'm gonna give you, I don't know, let's go with Jacksonville does. I'm gonna give you a 5th round pick or something like that. I'll take Ryan Tannehill.
Something random.
But I'm going to give you a 4th and 5th or 4th round or a 5th round or a 4th round this year and a 5th round next year. They can get away with that. If you do that, because they have Malik Willis and they got to change their offense. So if you do that, by the way, Malik Willis running and throwing with Dontrell Hilliard and Derrick Henry, that's going to be fun to watch and probably a pain in the butt to try and cover. And I don't like that because Jacksonville's in the same division. I think they can beat it, but still, it's going to be good. So this is why they need speed on defense, and they need to go and get some other guys defensively in the draft this year and maybe in free agency, speaking of Jacksonville. But fading back to the argument of Ryan Tannehill, your wrinkle of them still drafting a guy, drafting a Will Levis, drafting a CJ Stroud. Now, if Ryan Tannehill's in Houston and I gave up a 4th or a 5th round pick and maybe something else, I don't even know if they necessarily have to. If they did that, and I have Tannehill for 2 years, and I have CJ Stroud with Tannehill, or I have Will Levis with Tannehill, or something of that nature, I'm okay with that. Where I'm not okay is if I'm taking Ryan Tannehill and I'm making him my quarterback, and that's it. Your wrinkle of drafting one and Tannehill, then yes, Houston and Indy makes sense. But bringing in Ryan Tannehill for 2 years to either one of those teams and then just kind of sitting on it and hoping that in a couple of years there's going to be a good quarterback draft of 2025 or whatever. No, like that's where I'm saying no. Now, Ryan Tannehill makes sense to send to Carolina, Houston, Indy, if they're still going to draft a quarterback. And now all of a sudden, if that happens, and I appreciate the question and I appreciate the wrinkle from Brendan, any one of those 3 teams getting Ryan Tannehill and then also drafting a quarterback, now all of a sudden, the pressure's off that quarterback, the weight's off the team, the weight's off the franchise. And now I feel better about Bryce Young, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, and CJ Stroud. Definitely Young and Stroud I feel better about in those situations. So if that were to happen, I would feel a million times better with those quarterbacks. My problem right now is if any one of those quarterbacks drafted and the head coach says, here you go. And remember, Houston's got a new head coach. Indy's got a new head coach. So in those 2 situations, in Carolina, we're all talking about coaching changeover. So with this coaching changeover and them wanting to have their guys and all of that, do I really want to be the starting quarterback as a rookie in the first year of a head coach never playing in the NFL before? No. So any one of these coaches that is now taken over any one of these 3 franchises, it would behoove them to make a move for a guy like Tannehill and then draft a quarterback. So great question. And with the caveat that they're going to be able to still keep their draft pick, I'm fine with it. Yeah, I love it. Now that it's made me think Ryan, because now all of a sudden what I realized was Ryan Tannehill is like my night time safety blanket for any one of these teams.
Yeah, and it's not like he's not a decent quarterback.
No, he's
he'll
good,
get you through a couple of years.
The next couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, he's the perfect stopgap quarterback to bridge to one of these guys. Yeah. And like you said, if they're going to trade for Tannehill and that's all they're doing and they're not going to take a quarterback anymore, it makes 0 sense.
Yeah.
But if they're going to trade for Tannehill and still take Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, perfect. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So let's shift here to baseball for a second before we finish things up with DT and Murphy and get ready to have Matt Bergeron on live ahead of the draft. The big-time Syracuse offensive tackle could be the biggest tackle to come out of Syracuse in a long time, depending on where he's drafted. And I spoke with Dino after the spring game, and Dino's got some high hopes for this gentleman. So before we get there, let's jump to baseball for a second and where your head's at. We got a couple minutes here, a few minutes here, about 5 minutes or so. So what do you want to talk about on the diamond, Mr. Murph?
All right. So since we last spoke, the Rays have lost a game. They've actually lost 3 games.
Yeah.
So looking at the Tampa Bay Rays, one of their losses is to the Reds, and then 2 more were to the Blue Jays. The thing with them is, I mean, if you take a look at their pitching staff, unreal. And they don't even have Tyler Glasnow back yet. When they get him back, that's going to be a scary baseball team.
Yeah.
And the way the Rays are run, they are such an unbelievably run organization. They are well and truly the best run organization in baseball.
Yeah.
Only problem is they don't really have a lot of money to spend. And that's okay, but they find the guys that nobody else does, and they know when to pay guys. Now they're not shelling out $300 million contracts or anything.
Yeah.
But they know what guys are worth money, and they know when to pay them. They at least spend money. Unlike the complete opposite end of the spectrum when you talk about the Oakland A's. Yeah. And I think this is new since last week, that since the last time I saw you, that they're going to be moving to Vegas.
Yeah, they're doing what the Raiders did. Yep.
Yep. And it is through no fault of the fans.
No.
Anybody out there who is an Oakland A's fan, I feel awful for you. I really do. Because this is not your fault. It is because you have an owner who refuses to spend money due to the revenue sharing agreement in Major League Baseball. He can make money by not putting out a decent team, and he doesn't even need fans in the ballpark.
Yeah.
They can. We've got games in Oakland with 3,000 fans.
Yeah.
There's minor league games that have better attendance than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's sad. It really is. So the fact of the matter is John Fisher is worth over $2 billion. Now, he's no Steve Cohen. He's not worth 14 or 15 billion. But when you're worth $2.2 billion, you damn well better be putting money into this team, or you don't deserve to own a team. Period.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's not the A's fans. It's their incompetent owner that refuses to spend money in their team. And now they're going to go spend money in Vegas to build a stadium.
Yeah.
Now, is it the taxpayers fitting the bill? Yeah, probably. Knowing John Fisher, yeah, probably. You can cry Moneyball all you want, but Moneyball's over.
Yeah.
When Moneyball aired and when the book came out, teams figured it out. Yeah. The Bill James model for building a baseball team was figured out by every other team in baseball. Everybody's using advanced analytics now, not just the A's.
Yeah.
The A's have not made the playoffs since 2014. 2014. And they've had some good teams.
Yeah.
But they'll get stars. They'll develop stars. And they'll trade them.
Yeah.
Sonny Gray, Chris Bassett, Josh Donaldson, Matt Chapman, Frankie Montas. And I guarantee you Jesus Luzardo. They are just so incompetent as a baseball team. It's hysterical. But another team I actually wouldn't mind looking at all. Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah.
How about the start they have had? They're 16-7. They've won 7 in a row, including 3 in Colorado. They beat the first the first of those games that they started that winning streak was 3 in Colorado, 4 in Cincinnati. Now, you might look at those teams and be like, all right, Rockies aren't that good, Reds aren't that good. And sure, you might say that.
Yeah.
But if you look at the roster, Brian Reynolds is hitting almost 300. I mean, they've got a bunch of guys that some of us have never heard of. I mean, G1 Bay is having a good start to the year for them. Rodolfo Castro is having a good start to the year from them. And they lost O'Neal Cruz to an ACL.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's bad. But Andrew McCutchen is basically turning back the clock back to his MVP years since he's back in Pittsburgh. Carlos Santana looks good. Brian Reynolds looks outstanding. He's already got 5 home runs, 18 RBIs. And their pitching staff has been solid. Pitching wise, I mean, Mitch Keller has been very good. And he was once a highly touted prospect that came out and got crushed in his first couple of years.
Yeah.
And he's looked really good. Vince Velasquez twirled a gem for them last night. 7 innings of shutout baseball. Yohan Oviedo. Never heard of him before this year. Pitching to a 2.22 ERA. Let's see, striking out about a batter per 9. He's been great. David Bednar, their closer, 0.82 ERA, looks great.
So
that's a team that's really interesting to watch.
Yeah. So there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming up here right now. Diamondbacks getting some positive love out there. Heard it last night. Thank y'all. And Pitt Pirates as well. The Tampa Bay Rays doing their thing and having a strong start to their season. And really, I mean, you talk about Tampa, not putting those big contracts out. If they're going to pay anybody big time money in Tampa, pay your scouts, because your scouts are friggin' geniuses. So with that being said, DT and Murphy, with Brendan Murphy, myself, Dan Tortora, to start off draft week on Wake Up Call and talk a little bit of baseball. Murph, as always, I appreciate your expertise and your time. I feel like I literally just turned everything on in the studio and we've talked for an hour and a half. So love you as always. Appreciate you, man. And I look forward to talking with you soon.
Same to you, Dan, and enjoy the draft, everybody out there, and hope your team gets the guy you want.
Yeah, Murph and I will be talking soon. I'm sure we'll have a few wrinkles that we'll throw in there. We might do a little draft day thing. Little draft day thing. We'll figure it out. But appreciate you, man. I'll talk with you soon.
Take it easy, man.
Take it easy. That coming from Brendan Murphy and DT and Murphy here on Wake and Tortora, where sports truly. This time around, I wanted to make sure that we spent some more time with Murph so that he could get on for the NFL draft week. I didn't want to miss out. Brown's going to be joining us here in a second, and very, very excited to have Berge joining me where sports meets that thing called life. So very much looking forward to this and having Berge join the show on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. We'll take a quick step aside here
Recording
on Wake
in
Up Call
progress.
with Dan Tortora,
Recording
and
stopped.
we will be back momentarily with Matt Bergeron here on Wake Up Call. So stay with us as we will feature the Syracuse offensive tackle alum as he gets ready for the NFL draft coming up in just a few days.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life, and I am honored and privileged for what's coming up right here to start off draft week as we've continued the conversation inside of the NFL's draft week here in 2023. I am more than honored and more than privileged to have picture-in-picture here with me on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, Mr. Matthew Bergeron here on the broadcast, coming from that wonderful country of Canada, another home of mine, as I love Toronto, and a big-time Raptors fan. Berge is here with me, offensive tackle coming out of Syracuse, with an opportunity to make some history for himself, for the school, and more in the NFL draft. Berge, how we doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. And so, I mean, it's draft week. We are just a couple days away. Where are the emotions at right now?
I mean, right now I'm just, focused on, taking it day by day. Today I have, workouts and stuff that I got to, get done. And then when Thursday morning come around, when I'm done my workout for the day and I can just sit here and wait, for my phone to ring, I'm going to be, the excitement is going to, travel all over my body and I'm going to be, excited.
Where are you going to be for the draft?
I'll be in my hometown, Victoriaville in Quebec.
And when you're there, are you going to be at home with like a ton of people in the house? Are you going out somewhere? Like, what's the atmosphere going to be like?
We have a little setup. The city of Victoriaville was, they did a great job. They set me up. My family and I have a little venue. It's like 30 of us, guests, players from Syracuse, family, friends, and it's gonna be a good time, and everybody's gonna, have a good time, and I'm just excited to be, not only to get drafted, but just to be around my people. It's gonna be the first time that everybody's gonna be in one setting because I've been on a crazy schedule for the past few months, so it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for this opportunity for you and this big moment for you. You and I spoke on Pro Day about, putting Canada on the map, not just for you, but for people in the future as well. So to be able to go back to Quebec and to be able to celebrate in your town with your people, with all the work that you put in and putting Canada on the map, putting your town on the map, being able to go back and have this come full circle, that you were there once hoping that someone would give you a chance, and now you're going back there again hoping that someone would give you a chance. How poetic is that for you?
No, it's great. I remember when I was back here, I didn't even think like playing college football was possible. 'Cause it was only a few amount of, blessed people that I got the chance from Quebec, the province of Quebec, to get to play college football. So I just remember that mindset I had when I was here. I thought I was going to play college football in Canada and then go to the CFL. And then, years went by and, I've had opportunities that showed up and I made the most out of them. I'm grateful for Syracuse for giving me the opportunity to play college football. And, Coach Babers and the whole staff of, believing me. The kid out of nowhere in summer camp, they took a shot and, it paid off. And I'm just grateful for that.
Speaking here with Matthew Bergeron, the Syracuse Orange offensive tackle alum and 2023 NFL draft prospect. Let's go Tarantino this thing, go back in time. When Syracuse gave you that opportunity, bring me into how that all came about and just what was going on in your recruitment at the time and when Syracuse came in.
So I like to say that, Syracuse didn't find me. I found Syracuse. So, Syracuse my only offer, came down from Canada to, the summer camps they do in June. And it was in 2018. So I came down there, paid for my camp, everything. I was in game recruited at all. And then came down and, competed all day, dominated all day. And then after practice, Coach Babers pulled me aside and he was kind of surprised and shocked that, a player of my caliber never got the attention of, scouts from, the United States. So 2 days later, he called me back and gave me an offer and I committed right away. And, other schools try to reach out and stuff, but I didn't even, give them the time of day because I was just grateful and thankful for Syracuse taking the chance on me. So I stayed loyal to Syracuse, and a year later enrolled in Syracuse and started as a true freshman. So it's been a crazy journey, but, grateful for it.
And in your time that you've been at Syracuse, where have you excelled? Where have you gotten better? Having to play as a true freshman, they were shifting guys up and down the line, and at the same time there was injuries that happened. So you had to step in as a true freshman and really, where a lot of guys get to kind of wait it out and see what happens, you had to jump in right away. From that moment to where we were this past season, where have you grown? Where have you excelled? How has your game gotten better?
Man, I feel like just every aspect of my game got better. I feel like my first year as a true freshman, when I got thrown in there, I was just out there to survive. I was just playing not to mess up. And I felt like, with experience throughout the years, my technique got better. My knowledge of the game got better. My vision, everything got better throughout, through experience. So started 39, 40 games. So, it's a lot of playing time. So by the senior year, I knew the playbook, I knew what I had to do in certain situations. Like I was aware of that stuff and, I was aware of, defensive line play. So it was just, I think I just, by my senior year, I was just a better player than, when I first got in. Not only that, but I feel like my leadership, when I got in Syracuse, it was kind of tough for me to find a place on the team. And then, as the years went on, like I became a leader, and that's something, I'm most proud of, throughout my career at Syracuse. Just being named captain for the 2022 season was great for me.
Yeah, and it's so weird with the COVID year that it says you were a freshman, sophomore, junior. But, when you're talking about senior year and all that, I mean, when we go back to that freshman year in 2019, you appeared in all 12 games. You started 5 games at right tackle, and then we got to see you in 11 games in 2020, started the first 3 games of the year at right tackle, then flipped to left tackle, and then in 2021, all 12 games are at left tackle. 2022, we're seeing you out there winning a bunch of different awards, being on different lists and whatnot, and seeing you continue to impress. Why do you think you were so successful out of the gate as a freshman? Because you had to step in, you had to show your worth immediately, but some guys are thrown into that and they make a ton of mistakes, and it's not that you didn't make mistakes, and it's not saying that you were perfect out there, but why do you feel like you went out there, held serve, did good things right off the bat? What were you working on? How did you prepare yourself to be ready to not look like a freshman when you went out there in 2019?
I think it's just my mindset. I don't think it's related to, any physical attribute, whatever. I think it's my mindset and the way I approach the game. I approach every practice, every meeting, and every game with that same mentality and that same energy. And I think by doing that freshman year and not taking, practice meetings, by taking them seriously and actually, applying the coaching I was receiving from the gate, from fall camp practice 1 to Syracuse, my first practice at Syracuse, just applying the coaching and actually getting better and better. I think that made a difference when I got thrown in there. I was in loss because, I had a great relationship with my coach. Like I was actually listening and taking in the coaching and applying it. And I think that made a difference.
And we look at what you were able to do, Berge, with you in 2022. I really want people to understand these numbers as you head into the NFL draft. You were penalized 3 times and allowed just 5 sacks in 686 snaps in 2022. So in almost 700 snaps, 3 penalties, 5 sacks. Your thoughts?
Mm-hmm. Well, I felt, the two penalties, 2 of them were in Florida State, and they were actually in the run game. And the first one was at Virginia, had a false start. That was a bad one. We was, going on there to win and score, win the red zone. That was a bad one. But yeah, I feel like that was something that between that 2021 season and that 2022 season, if you look at the stats, in 2021, I think I was penalized over 10 times. And I feel like that's something that I really wanted to work on and show people that, I knew that was an issue, that I knew that was a weakness, and that I worked on that. And that, I was more focused and worked in the off season to put my hands inside, focus on the cadence, be in sync with the rest of the offensive linemen in the center. So I don't, go out and false start all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's something I'm really proud of, just taking that number down. And
yeah. But when I hear that from you, Berge, I say 3 penalties and 686 snaps in 2022, and you knew exactly where they were. I think that says something to an NFL team right then and there that's impressive. Speaking of NFL teams, Matt Bergeron heading into the 2023 NFL draft, what can you tell us about the teams that you've worked out for or spoken with? We're heading into the draft. What has it been like for you? What type of workouts did you have? And are you willing to share kind of where those have taken you around the country?
Yeah. So, I was blessed enough to go to Senior Bowl. And Senior Bowl, the way it's set up is first day you have 16 interviews with 16 different teams. And then Thursday of that week, you have 16 interview with the other teams you didn't get the chance to talk to. So by the end of Senior Bowl, I talked to all 32 teams. And then when Combine happened, teams select the players that they want to interview. So I had 17 interviews at Combine with a bunch of different teams. And then after Combine comes Pro Day. And then Pro Day, teams come down to, I think there was 7 to 6 O-line coach that came down for my Pro Day. And then the day before and the day of and the day after, teams come in the office. They come in mainly, and, they want an hour with you. They want to have a meeting. They want to sit down and grab some food, get to know you. Then when Pro Day was over, like a week or 2 later, I got on the plane. My first visit was with the Washington Commanders. And then from Commanders, went to Tampa Bay. And then next week, I went to Las Vegas and then Chicago. And then last week, I went to Carolina, New England, and then Buffalo. So, I traveled all over the place. It was a lot just running in the airport, catching flights and stuff, time zone difference and all that, and just, missing workouts and stuff like that. That was the hardest part. But, I got a chance to meet, everybody in the building and, build a relationship. And I think, I consider myself a social person and a person you want to bring in the locker room aside of football, and I think I'm pretty mature for my age, so that also plays into it. And, I think I had a good visits, and now I'm just waiting around and seeing who's going to pull the trigger.
You and Dan, I appreciate you breaking it down and being so candid with it, that you had the opportunity at the Senior Bowl to speak with all 32, then Pro Day 17, then, you get to or combine 17, then pro day after that, and then to go and have these, personal connections with these teams that wanted to fly you out, meet with you, and have you around their culture and their environment. When you had the combine itself and half the NFL gets to say, we want to talk with you, what was that experience like? And do you feel like you had built any stronger bonds? So at the Senior Bowl, you're talking all 32. Then when you're talking to 17 at the Combine, were they teams that you anticipated or expected from your conversations at the Senior Bowl? Did some teams surprise you that wanted to talk with you? What was it like at the Combine?
I mean, Combine was a rough week. Obviously, I'm grateful for the opportunity to get invited to the Combine. I know a lot of our players had a chance to do so. And when I got there, but like Combine ain't no joke. You get to Combine, medical testing, interviews, all that stuff. And when interviews came around, from the Senior Bowl for having 32 interviews, I was already good. I was already comfortable, and in front of a crowd. Like I wasn't nervous, and I'm grateful for the Senior Bowl that gave me that experience. Then when I interviewed for those teams, there was obviously teams I was surprised. I feel like most of the teams were teams who had needs, at offensive line, and whether it's tackle or guard, because I know there's a lot of questions whether I'm going to be tackle or guard in NFL, and those teams just wanted to get to know me, get to see, my football IQ. Just obviously me being from Canada and not, I ain't played, high school football and the same coaching and the same football rules. In Canada we have an extra player. The field is bigger, wider. So with that, teams really want to get to know me. And from those 17 teams, other teams, I met with other teams at Pro Day who didn't have the chance to, talk to me at Combine. So all those teams, basically, they just want to have interaction with you. And, there's a lot of teams I've visited the past few weeks that I never had, an interaction with at Combine or Pro Day. So I feel like they just want to have a feel for you. So when it comes down to the decision, they can say, all right, well, Matthew's a good person. He's healthy. He's, obviously the film is up. He's a good player, and then boom, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like all those interaction teams just want to have a feel for you.
What I think is great here with Syracuse Orange offensive tackle alum and 2023 NFL draft prospect Matthew Bergeron here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. What I think is great, Matthew, is what you just said, that every team has gotten to interact with you at least once, if not multiple times. And then if a team didn't get to talk with you as much at the Combine, then that team approached you at Pro Day, or they approached you with a visit. So it seems like you, unlike a lot of people around the country, are having 32 teams that know something about you, have met you once, twice, 3 times. I mean, that to you has got to mean a lot to you. Who do you feel like has maybe shown the most love or created the strongest bond, maybe asked you the most questions or kept you the longest? What teams do you feel like have really tried to build the strongest bridge with you? Do you have anybody that stands out in that respect?
Man, it's tough because like every time I come off a visit, I'm like, this team is definitely gonna draft me. Like since it's fresh in my mind, and I just got off the visit. Like I remember my first visit, I got to Washington. I was like, man, that might get me. Like everything went well, and then after Tampa, it was the same thing. So I don't know. To be honest, I've had a great relationship with all those teams. Everything went well. Whether it's at Combine, Pro Day, and the visits, everything went well. And I think that's what's exciting about my situation is like I'm in the range where like I can kind of come off at any time, and it's whatever. It's who pulls the trigger. So I think it's going to be an exciting day for me. Obviously, it comes with a lot of stress, and knowing that like your name can come off literally at any time. But it's going to be a great day.
Why do you think you're a first-round draft pick?
You said what?
Why do you think you're a first-round draft pick?
I feel like I got the complete package. Not only the film, but I feel like off the field and the type of person I am. I think that's something that's big, especially in the NFL, where there's media involved, there's money involved. Yeah. There's a lot of different stuff involved. There's guys that come in and go. There's coaches that come in and go. And I think you want a person who you can say, all right, that person can play day one. That person can be positive, in the locker room. And that person, is mature. And I've shown, and also playing experience. Like I've started over 39 games. Like, I'm used to get thrown in the fire. Like I'm not gonna piss on my pants when I get thrown out there in a game or a preseason game. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I got it, but at the same time, I'm not the one making the decisions. The O-line coach are not the one making the decisions. They're the GMs, and we'll see. But I definitely think I have the chance to be a first round pick. If I'm not, it's just gonna put a chip on my shoulder for the next year and just get to that second contract faster.
When we see, I mean, there's the tangibles, the measurables, right? And then there's the intangibles that you and I have spoken about. How do you feel about the things that can be measured and the things that can't be measured?
I feel like when you look at me, when you break me down on paper, right? When you break down my height, my weight, my arm length, like it's pretty average for a tackle, Like there's nothing for me that stands out. My arm length is pretty average. My height, I'm 6'5" and 3/4. Like I'm 318. Like there's nothing that stands out when you look at me on paper. When you've never met me, never watched my film, you're like, all right, this dude is average, But then when you put on the tape and the way I play and my physicality and how aggressive I play, and then all right, this guy got a chance. And then when you get to meet me, they understand like, damn, he knows his football. He's a person, he's a leader. I feel like that's just, bring the package together. And I feel like that's somebody you would want to bring, if you're GM, that you would want to bring in your locker room,
I love that. And you know what? And I love the fact that from day zero, I mean, you've been real with me and you've always given me time. Your family has been great. The support's been incredible. And I could speak to you and I could tell any GM, president, whoever out there, if you get Matt Bergeron, you're getting a talented guy. You're getting a guy who could fight. You're getting a guy who got thrown into the fire and you saw him come out onto the field and then you forgot that he was a freshman. And you're getting someone who's just, in my opinion, not only do you work hard, but you're humble. You keep the ties that are important to you. You respect people. You don't forget people. And I think that there's a lot that goes with all of the things that are you as a human being that go beyond football, because a lot of guys can play, but the type of person that you are is the reason why I wanted you on the show today.
That's well said, man.
And
I like that.
I do want to say this because the Jaguars are my team. So I know they picked 24th, and just for giggles, I did a little simulator this morning in the first hour of the show in DT and Murphy with my buddy Brendan Murphy, and there was 4 tackles that were available at that time. So I put Berge in there at number 24 just to see what that all felt like. What are your thoughts? I know Jacksonville spent a lot of time with you at Pro Day, so just would love to know if there's any thought about the relationship with them, because I know you spoke about teams you went and visited and you went down to Tampa, but any thoughts on Jacksonville?
Well, Coach Phil, the O-line coach, and I, we had, he came down, we had dinner, and then we got a meeting right before my pro day. And then even in a pro day, he worked me out. And man, he's a good person, good dude. He's intense. And then the way he teaches, like really, it really, how can I say that? Like it's great for me. I'm a visual learner. I need somebody, put up the film, set up a PowerPoint, all that type of stuff. And that's the stuff he does. And, you never know, because they got Jawan Taylor went to Kansas City. And, I played right tackle in the past. I'm versatile. And I think, there's maybe a chance. 24 is kind of late in the first. I definitely feel that's in my range. So we'll see. And, Jacksonville, Florida's a tax-free state. There's no state taxes. And there's a, young team that definitely on the come up. So that'll be exciting.
And before I let you go here, Berge, did anybody talk to you about the draft and about being in the NFL that's come from, some of your teammates here? Did you get any words from Trill or Iffy or Cisco? I mean, has anybody kind of reached out and said, hey, be prepared for this, be ready for this? Did anybody give you any advice?
So, I had the chance to get in contact with Justin Pugh, Chandler Jones, and those guys that, they've been great. Chandler, we were talking a lot about football, and, Justin Pugh, we talked a lot about like off the field stuff, that comes with, being a professional player. And, in my combine, in my pre-combine training, I had a chance to, be coached by Joe Staley, who played in the NFL for a long time, left tackle for the Niners, probably a Hall of Famer. And, just talking with him every day and just getting to understand how, like, yeah, you don't have classes and football is fun, but like there's a lot of time and hours you have to put into this to become, an elite player in this league. Because physical traits and that's not enough. You need to put in the technique, put in the work, and just understanding that from his perspective. Like you really have to love what you're doing, and I feel like I do. So I feel like it's gonna be a long career.
You spoke with Justin Pugh, like you said, and Pugh was told that he was too small, couldn't go out there and play NFL offensive lineman. He was a tackle, shifted to guard, but there were some people that thought he couldn't make it. He's the same height as you at 6'5", and around the exact same weight. So what does that mean to you to see somebody like him come from Syracuse and have spent a decade in the NFL so far?
I mean, it means a lot, and I feel like he's a great player, and playing in the league for 10 years plus, like it's not easy. Like obviously there's injuries, there's stuff that that's out of control. Guys coming in, fresh guys coming in the draft and stuff, and to be able to be the best player on your team at your position for 10 years, or whether you get traded and stuff, like that's an accomplishment. And that was great, talking with Justin. We had a great conversation. So, I'm not shy to just pick up the phone and be like, hey, like if I have a question or whatever, I know we talked. I called him before the Senior Bowl, gave me some tips because he went to the Senior Bowl as well. So it was great.
That coming from Matt Bergeron. In closing, Matt, 2 final points. I'd be remiss if I didn't say this from one of the fans who's also named Matt. He said, Matt, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for being such a great team leader and representative of the Orange Nation. Good luck, and I hope you end up with the Giants. That's coming from Matt. And then,
hey,
go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And, growing up, Giants were my favorite team in Canada. Giants were like the closest to home. And I remember one of the first football games I watched was the Giants and the Patriots in the Super Bowl, and the Giants won. So I'm crossing my fingers. Maybe I'll be a part of the Big Blue.
So that coming from Matt Bergeron. I'm going to play GM for the last part here. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, rapid fire. I want you to tell me the answers. So this is me calling you between now and Thursday to see if I'm going to draft you. My first question to you, Matt, is if you were in a situation where your teammates were all out and everybody's at a club, it was somebody's birthday party, and somebody's had a little bit too much to drink, and some fans are getting a little wily, what do you do to make sure that guys get home safe? How do you show me your leadership when everybody's out at the club?
Well, I'm gonna get the person who hasn't, drank or call a Uber service, a driving service. I'm gonna call them, as soon as possible, and really separate the fans and the players, and kind of take the players away, and from that, just put the players in the Uber, put the players in the whatever driving service I got, take them home, and then just calm down the fans. And I feel like, alcohol can rile people up. And I feel it's just bringing the tension down a little bit by just talking and just, not having that certain tension. I think that's going to bring the heat down, and just putting the players in the, in the Uber service so they can go home safe and not, drink and drive.
I love that answer. Second one, give me at least one example of when you've tried to mentor someone and feel like you've left an impact.
I feel like Enrique Cruz, Enrique came in the program, and I was starting tackle, and I was going to my senior year thinking that I had a chance to get in the NFL, so I was doing extra work in the off season, and I brought Enrique with me because I knew, well, if I leave, Enrique is going to take my spot and be the next starter for the 3 or 4 years to come, and I feel like I showed him the ropes when I came back. When I came back from combine training, he was doing the stuff I taught him, doing the extra work, putting the extra time in the facility when, whether it's before practice, after practice, or just on the weekends by himself. So I think I definitely left an impact.
A 2B to that, why do you think Enrique has what it takes to take over that role on the offensive line?
I feel like he got he's an athlete first eyes, and I feel like he got the physical tools to become one of the great tackles in the ACC, and also the way he plays. He's aggressive. You want to put people on the ground. He's physical. He's not running from a fight. He can put his hand down in the dirt and, go at it. So I think Enrique got everything to become one of the great tackles in the ACC.
Final question: as an NFL GM, you can walk around the world with a neon sign above your head that describes who you are. What does that neon sign say?
Consistency. Why pick consistency? Just because everything I do, I think is important. I mean, everything you do, I think it's important to be consistent. If you want to play in the league for over 10 years, you got to be consistent. You got to put the work in. You got to show up every day with the same energy, whether it's football, whether it's in school, whether it's in the weight room. Like, you got to be consistent in everything you do. And I think that's the secret to having a long career and having a successful life.
Consistency. Matt Bergeron, he showed us consistency at Syracuse, only got better with time as well. Now the NFL draft is coming up. I believe he should be getting his name called this Thursday, April 27th in the first round. And like he said, if that doesn't happen, chip on his shoulder from there. But all the respect is going to you, Matt. I appreciate you taking time on today's broadcast, a wake-up call, and taking time all the way through. You always have a spot here on the show, and more than anything else off the air, you always got a place to get a hug and have a friend. I appreciate you. I appreciate your family, and I appreciate everything that you have had over these years, that you've given to my city, and that the city has given back to you. So, man, I can't thank you enough, but I hope that this is the first of many conversations, and you can be more than sure when your name gets called. Your phone might be ringing off the hook, but I'm going to be one of those phone calls to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dan. Thank you for having me on the show, and hopefully, we'll get the chance to do another one. I appreciate that. I appreciate the support.
Absolutely. So putting Canada on the map and building that bridge for many people, Matthew Bergeron should be one of those offensive linemen taken in the first round of this NFL draft, in my opinion, and many teams have gotten the opportunity. The entire NFL has seen you. I love it. I appreciate it. In the meantime, just go do what you got to do and get ready for Thursday night. I can't wait to talk with you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, take care.
All right, bye.
See you. That coming from Matt Bergeron here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. And I can't thank him enough for being a part of today's broadcast, spending some extended time with us here on the show. And just, listen, I can't say enough good things about him. He came out as a freshman, and at Syracuse, the offensive line over the last few years, it was tough to find who those leaders were going to be. And when he came out in Syracuse, like he said, I like to say I found Syracuse, they didn't find me. When he came to camp and he showed himself and he got that offer and he had no offers, and Syracuse gave him that offer and he took it. He came here. He played as a freshman. He continued to give and to give and to give to this Syracuse football program. In the time that he was here, Syracuse posted their first 1,000-yard back in almost a decade. And then the next year, they did it again with having a back-to-back 1,000-yard back in Sean Tucker, which is the first time Syracuse achieved that feat since 2009-10 when DeLon Carter did it, who also played in the NFL. It says something about Berge that seeing that success in the backfield and seeing the success as the team overall, that comes from and protecting the quarterback better and rising up as an offensive line. It says a lot about Berge. His time at Syracuse, we've seen the offensive line improve. We've seen the backfield improve. We've seen our quarterbacks have more time. That is not a mistake. It's not a coincidence. And the last time that there was a 1,000-yard back in 2012 in Jerome Smith, Justin Pugh and the crew were blocking for that guy. And Justin Pugh at 6'5", the same height as Matt Bergeron, has spent, like I said before, a decade in the NFL. It's now time for the NFL to make the next move on the next Syracuse offensive lineman that's going to, I believe, and I hope, spend at least a decade blocking and having a great time. He's representing Canada, Quebec, his town, his family, Syracuse. He's showing the world that you can do it even when you're the only person that might believe in yourself. Even when you only get one offer, one opportunity. That's all you need. He has fought. I've always seen him be a fighter on the field and a calm person off the field. I have nothing bad to say about his personality. I have all good things to say about how he's treated me, and all good things to say about how he's been on this offensive line. I'm excited to see his time in the NFL. I'm happy and proud that at the Senior Bowl, all 32 teams spoke with him. And then at the Combine, more than half of the NFL spoke with him again. And then at Pro Day, teams that didn't speak with him at the Combine spoke with him. And then a bunch of teams flew him out to meet and be with them on site, on location at their facilities. He has had the entire NFL give him at least one opportunity to make an impression. And believing in Matt, I'm hopeful and confident that he has. I can't wait to see what happens. Jags, you're on the clock at 24, just so you know. But I'm very excited for Matthew Bergeron. He's been an honor and a privilege to cover. It's big words about Enrique Cruz Jr. that he's mentioned him now twice to me publicly. Once on Pro Day and once here today heading into the draft. So that says a lot about you, Enrique. Be humbled by that and keep working hard, brother, because I appreciate you too. And everybody on the O-line. Matthew Bergeron has given 4 great years to Syracuse, and now I want to see him give a decade plus to a team in the NFL. Make the right decision on character, on quality, on work ethic, on determination, on dedication, on fight, on versatility. I look forward to one of you saying Matt Bergeron very, very soon this week. God bless to you, Matthew, and to your entire family and extended family. We'll take a step aside for a fast break, and we'll wrap up today's show on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9Campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9Campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And then them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life. I can't believe that the show is not only done, but that we're past 11 o'clock this morning. I feel like I had two great conversations with wonderful people, and I can't believe, they flew by. We had Matt on, Matt Bergeron, and Brendan Murphy, and 2 hours and we're all saddled up here, which is crazy to start off the week. But they say time flies when you're having fun. So you can find us Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I guess we're going to have a lot of fun this week. So very much looking forward to all the good things that are coming up. My guy Scott Landers got his 300th career victory, the Oswego State Lakers baseball head coach. He's going to be joining us this Tuesday, and we're going to have Dave Paziak continue our Tuesday broadcast about the NBA playoffs. So excited to have Dave on, longtime coach and analyst. And then we have a bunch of Dolphin dives coming up to you. We're going to be diving into the pool with the Dolphins many, many times this Wednesday. A lot of great stuff, getting you ready for the draft. A lot of awesome conversations coming up. Mike Oresco is going to be joining the show this week, the American Athletic Conference Commissioner, who's a mainstay on Wake Up Call, and he's going to be joining us coming off of college football playoff meetings and off of the news that we're finally having the in-person media days for football, which him and I talked about and discussed here on the show, which we may have been the first show to offer that up to the people here in the community. So a lot of wonderful things happening, a lot of great things to come on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, and of course on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Once the shows go live, they jump into the archives. I'm going to be adding a bunch of stuff to the archives, including my conversation with Murph and with Matt Bergeron. So a lot of awesome things to come here on Amazon Music, Audible. There's already a bunch of shows on here, so go check them out today. Go check them out stat. As soon as the show ends, go check out the library for plenty more Wake Up Call. If you want Wake Up Call to be with you every day, all hours of the day, all you have to do is search us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and many others. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, and you'll get us there. Big thanks to our incredible partners, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Mon Paz Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, PB&J's Lunchbox, Great Lakes Honda City, 317 at Montgomery Street. We have an all-new video trying the 317 Smash Burger. Check out the video and try the burger at 317 Montgomery Street in downtown Syracuse. Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay. Mother's Cupboard, the home of my breakfast sandwich called the Cuse McMother. You can get it exclusively at Mother's Cupboard. Bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich, or cut it up and have it with syrup. Either way, it tastes fantastic. I've had it both ways, and you can see my picture of what it's like to have it both ways on all of our social media, Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. You can look at the picture there and that'll make you very hungry. Get your mouth all salivating, ready to go, and get you over to the wonderful, wonderful Mother's Cupboard on 3709 James Street in Syracuse. I get hungry just talking about it. Chick-fil-A Watertown, Pizza Man, where we will be this Thursday to celebrate the NFL Draft. And, of course, Avicoli's fantastic place. Closed on Mondays, but open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. So make sure you head over there starting tomorrow. And with that being said, we're proud to be the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Dolphins. It is Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We bring you Dolphin coverage like you've never had before, bringing those fins way up every week, including on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Set it and keep it forever. Wednesdays at 9, we bring you our Dolphin time. First and third Wednesday of each month, AD and DT with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. Second and fourth Wednesday, the Dolphin Dive, diving into the stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. All of those can be found on the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com. Bookmark it, save it, and keep it forever as it will continue to update itself. And, of course, you can find all of the latest content on the Dolphins by going to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. For more information on the Dolphins, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. And in the meantime, and as always, fins up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are the proud exclusive multimedia marketing partners here with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Check out your Bobcats every single month on Wake Up Call with student athletes, coaches, and administration. The buzz comes to you featuring men's and women's soccer, men's and women's basketball, and the inaugural season of their baseball team, covered only here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can go to the BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com, bookmark it, save it, and keep it forever with all of our Bobcat content, and it also updates itself on the YouTube channel, so don't miss a minute by subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and searching Bobcat Buzz. For more information on your Bobcats, which you should definitely check out on James Street in Syracuse, God bless them all. Check them out at syracuse.bscbobcats.com. With that being said, I want to thank once again my guy Brendan Murphy for DT and Murphy coming to you every other Monday, but we've done 4 weeks in a row because, well, I'm spoiling you with Murph. He's great. Our conversations go by quick because we're always having fun and we're always talking about a lot of stuff. One of the easiest people in the world to talk to on and off the air. So big shout out to Murph, and a big shout out to Matt Bergeron, your future NFL draft pick here from Syracuse on the offensive line. God bless you, Matthew Bergeron, and I cannot wait to make that phone call when you get drafted. So many blessings to all of you. Be well, stay safe. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT, and plenty of great stuff coming up this week as I've already primed you for a bunch of it. We'll talk with you tomorrow, God willing, and in the meantime,